Sponsored by rxcardclub.com. Get a free prescription drug card and save up to 85% on prescription drugs. rxcardclub.com. Audism, meaning practice and how it affects deaf people. Audism is a term used to describe a negative attitude toward deaf or hard of hearing people. It is typically thought of as a form of discrimination, prejudice, or a general lack of willingness to accommodate those who cannot hear. People who hold these viewpoints are called audists, and the oppressive attitudes they hold can take a variety of forms. /r/n/r/n This article takes a closer look at what audism is, how it is practiced, and the ways it affects people who are deaf or hard of hearing. /r/n/r/n The term audism was first coined by Tom Humphreys in his 1977 doctoral dissertation titled Communicating Across Cultures, Deaf Hearing, and Language Learning. In it, Humphreys defines audism as the notion that one is superior based on one's ability to hear or to behave in the manner of one who hears. /r/n/r/n Audism has been picked up many other times over the years. Among those who have explored this attitude in great depth was Harlan Lane. His book, The Mask of Benevolence, Disabling the Deaf Community, is primarily about audism. While Humphreys took an individual approach to the idea of hearing privilege, Lane looked at the broader scope of communities and society as a whole. /r/n/r/n One poignant quote from Lane reads, "In short, audism is the hearing way of dominating, restructuring, and exercising authority over the deaf community." /r/n/r/n Audism can be found in many different forms in various parts of society. Audism may affect someone's work, education, or living circumstances, or simply be infused in casual conversation. Yet, it's also pointed out quite often that both hearing and deaf people can have audist attitudes. /r/n/r/n Examples of audism include, /r/n/r/n It's also important to note that audism does not necessarily refer to people who may not be familiar with deaf culture. As the authors of the Deaf Choice website point out, if you are not familiar with the deaf community, you may not be expected to know all the finer rules established within it to be considered polite. /r/n/r/n Instead, the audist label is used most often for those who do have knowledge of deaf culture but choose, for one reason or another, to ignore or defy it. As with any form of discrimination, the intent must be considered when discussing audism. /r/n/r/n Audism affects deaf and hard of hearing people in numerous ways. /r/n/r/n A number of people who have encountered audist attitudes have written about them in books, plays, poetry, and other venues. It is also a common topic for deaf student newspapers and researchers interested in the societal and cultural aspects of the community. /r/n/r/n With that being said, it shouldn't be up to the deaf community alone to challenge audist practices or advocate for inclusivity. /r/n/r/n Hearing, deaf, and hard of hearing individuals alike can help put a stop to audism by /r/n/r/n Organizations that advocate on behalf of the deaf community often take part in the fight against audism. The Canadian Association of the Deaf notes that audism occurs at all levels of society and finds it as unacceptable as any other form of bigotry. /r/n/r/n The National Association of the Deaf in the U.S. also includes the elimination of audism, linguism, racism, and other forms of discrimination in their statement on community values. /r/n/r/n Audism is a form of discrimination and prejudice against people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Audism can manifest in many ways, including assuming a deaf person is incompetent, denying a non-hearing person access to education or employment opportunities, or imposing upon them hearing-centric values and norms. /r/n/r/n If you are not familiar with the deaf community or deaf culture, you may not be aware of audism when it manifests. Educating yourself about audism, raising awareness about audism, and advocating for deaf representation can help eliminate audism and lead to a more inclusive and equitable society. r/n/r/n, rxcardclub.com. Get a free prescription drug card and save up to 80% on prescription drugs.